Hello and welcome to another edition of the Solid Rock, Minnesota podcast, a place to swing by for a brief moment for some stories or news and things to ponder. It's a place to take a small pause from your busy life. So grab yourself some coffee or a mug of tea or a pop, as we like to call it here in the North Country, and kick back for a moment. Take a breather. With all that's been going on in Minnesota these days, it's had me sort of pondering the phrase, Minnesota nice. There's been protests and rioting and, we pretty much made the nightly national news over the past several weeks. I'm not sure that's something that's worth wanting to brag about, though. But it is what it is. We've had nightly curfews down in the cities due to civil unrest regarding the George Floyd trial, and now another officer-involved shooting just a few weeks ago of a 20-year-old man. It has really put Minnesota on the world map, and honestly, it really sucks to be this popular over such awful events. And so while all of the unrest is real and the emotions and feelings are running really hot, the other day I just needed to take a break from all of it, if even just for a little bit. So I headed out to find some Minnesota nice uptown. While Minnesota nice is not really a kind thing to say about a fellow Minnesotan, it sometimes can just be the break needed during stressful times. Minnesota nice can turn comical at times, and for me, that's just what I needed, and that's just what happened. Wikipedia actually has a pretty accurate description of the definition of Minnesota nice. It describes Minnesota nice as a cultural stereotype applied to the behavior of people from Minnesota, implying residents are unusually courteous, reserved, mild-mannered, and passive-aggressive sometimes. The phrase also implies polite friendliness, an aversion to open confrontation, a tendency towards understatement, a disinclination to make a direct fuss or stand out, apparent emotional restraint, and self-deprecation. That definition pretty much nails it. So, now that you have the understanding of the definition of Minnesota nice, let me describe it to you as I ventured out uptown for gas and some groceries. All was fine until I neared the edge of town where the new roundabout was put in a few months ago. I personally am not a fan of roundabouts just because they can get a little confusing with high traffic. It goes along with the freeway ramp merging that some people struggle with. This roundabout will maybe see 20 cars every 5 minutes, if that. The day I was going through it, there was a traffic jam with about 4 cars in the roundabout. As I approached the roundabout and was going to stop for the cars that were coming in, the driver in the car that was actually in the roundabout stopped to let me in. And there were 3 other cars stopping behind her. We were all stopped. No one was upset. No horns were honking at the driver to get moving. So I waved the driver on, and she waved me on. And then I waved her on again, and she waved me on again. And we were at a Minnesota impasse. As I started to just go so we could break up the traffic mess before more cars came, the driver decided to move forward too at the same time. So again, I stopped to let them all through and to complete the circle in the roundabout. It really was the right thing to do. They had the right of way. If only the driver would let me wait. Well, finally, a semi-truck driver was coming up behind me and wasn't showing any indication of slowing down or stopping, for that matter. So I just jumped into the circle and led the parade out of the roundabout up to the 4-way stop. Yep, you guessed it. There were 2 other cars there at the 4-way stop. And so we started the process all over again of who should go first through the intersection. We all started waving everyone else on until the semi-truck got there and honked his horn and threw his arms up in the air. We all inched out at the same time and we all stopped. I finally had the guts to make my left turn before anyone moved again. I felt so vulnerable and so exposed. Everyone was looking at me and probably thinking, wow, she's got some nerve. She must not be from around here. By the time I got to the gas station, I was a bit frazzled from all of the Minnesota nice that had just happened. I pulled up to the pump and waited for the clerk at the checkout inside to tell me to come inside to pay when I was done. When she turned the pump on, she greeted me with a hearty good morning over the PA, for God and everyone within a half mile's earshot would hear. And if that wasn't enough, she went on to describe the incredible blueberry muffins they had inside, and I should make sure to pick up a box. Well, I finished filling up my minivan and I went inside. As I entered the store, I was greeted by several clerks that were stocking shelves. Each one reminded me of the great blueberry muffins that were just over there on the counter by the checkout. I wasn't needing blueberry muffins. I had had breakfast, and I didn't want to clutter the counter with a box of muffins that we might not eat before they got moldy. Well, when I got up to the checkout with my 2 boxes of blueberry muffins, the clerk greeted me Minnesota style by discussing the weather for the day. The clerk and I discussed the pros and the cons of all the rain we've had. It is better than snow this time of year, and we do need the moisture since there's a fire ban on. If ever at a loss for a conversation with a native Minnesotan, just bring up the weather. It will get you going for a long time. So I gathered up my muffins and headed out, but not before hearing her say, "Have a great day. See you next time." I got in my minivan and carefully stacked the muffins on the seat and proceeded to go home. This time I played it smart. I took the back roads so I didn't have to deal with the roundabout again. I don't think I could take any more decisions about who goes first in a roundabout or a traffic stop. I got home and unloaded my boxes of muffins, and I turned on the news, and there we were again, Minnesota making national headlines. The verdict was in regarding George Floyd. Former police officer Derek Chauvin was found guilty of all 3 offenses. He was led away in handcuffs to jail. As I was watching that, the news panned across the street near where George took his last breath, and there I saw it. No protesting, no rioting, just a bunch of people hugging and crying after hearing the verdict almost a year after the incident happened. Yes, we are kind and courteous and reserved and mild-mannered, and we can be kind of passive-aggressive at times. We can be polite and friendly and have an aversion to open confrontation or even a tendency toward understatement. And maybe we have a disinclination to make a direct fuss or stand out. But today, I watched as my fellow Minnesotans showed their true colors from their hearts in hopes of making this a better place for all of us to live. You've been listening to the podcast of Solid Rock, Minnesota. We're honored and happy you've taken the time from your busy day to give us a listen. If you've enjoyed spending a few minutes with us, please tell your family and friends to stop by and check us out. Feel free to leave a comment here and subscribe to the Solid Rock, Minnesota podcast. You can also stop by and visit our website at www.solidrockminnesota.com. There you'll find links to our blog and also the local weather here at Solid Rock, Minnesota. Always a conversation starter. Also, send us your post office mailing address for a free authentic Minnesota postcard with a personal message to you from Solid Rock, Minnesota. There's no strings attached. Just send us your mailing address and we'll send you a postcard. It's all absolutely free to you. We just like hearing from listeners and see where you're all from. Until next time, may you be surrounded with life, laughter, family, and friends, people who truly know you. Many blessings.